Welcome back to a brand new video on my channel. Today, we will go over the Bitcoin price action, the latest pump on BTC, and what to expect for the coming week. Now, I would say the most important data that has come out today is regarding the Bank of Japan interest rate decision hike. They have vowed to pretty much keep rates the same. And I think this is very important for the markets because the last time the Bank of Japan increased the interest rates, we had a massive crash across the board, including crypto and stocks. And that was in August because the prediction was 0.25 interest rate hike. They actually increased it to 0.35, and that caused, panic across the board. The Bank of Japan, or the carry trade principle, is very, very simple. For those of you guys that don't understand, is when people go and they go and borrow the yen, convert it to the dollar, and they put the dollar to work by buying stocks, by buying crypto. And then when the Bank of Japan increases the interest rates, the people that borrow the yen ask for feedback. So what people are forced to do is they sell the crypto, sell their stocks, and then go back into the yen. And that's why every single time a rate hike is done, the yen explodes back up because those guys are forced to sell their stocks and crypto and go back into the yen. Now, this is very good for the markets because it gives us a little bit of breathing room. The market can actually stabilize, if not pump, in the coming weeks. However, we do have a lot of data that will be announced this week. So it is going to be a volatile week. I would say the most important data is GDP numbers, which is pretty much forecasted to come in, from 4.2% in Q4 2024 to 0.4 or 0.5. This was actually minus 1.5 a few days ago. They've actually revised it to 0.4. This is a massive drop for Q1 2025, and that is mostly because of the tariff news and all the stuff that Trump has been doing. It's obviously going to affect exports and imports, sorry. And the Atlantic Fed was actually predicting 2025 Q1 to actually come in as minus 2.5%. Now, I do think these numbers are accurate. However, they are going to artificially change the numbers around. This is what they've been doing since 2022. They always, improve the data and then revise it later. But most people don't pay attention to the revision and they ignore and they think that everything's doing well. But I do think we have been in a rolling recession since 2022, but they just changed the definition of a recession. The original definition was 2 consecutive negative GDPs, which we've already had in 2022. Now, unemployment is obviously a major factor. So when we start seeing unemployment shoot up, that is when they might actually announce a recession. But at the moment, unemployment data is supposed to come out on Friday. That is forecasted to stay the same at 4.2%. Non-farm payroll is coming out on Friday as well. That's going to be more or less, it's going to be consolidating, I think. It's not going to be high, but it's also not going to be too low. 135 to 140 is the forecasted rate. The previous 228. Obviously, you want this as high as possible, which means the US is creating more jobs. But it's not as important considering unemployment is consolidating at the same region. We do also have core PCE numbers coming out on Wednesday as well. And this is a good indication for the markets getting more and more rate cuts this year, because this is actually going very close to the Fed's 2% target rate. When it hits the 2%, what's most likely going to happen is the Fed will be incentivized to actually start stimulating the economy, whether it's through ending QT or maybe do stealth QE, but they don't announce it, or just do a bit of both and obviously cut rates at the same time, because rates will come down this year. It's all about whether the Fed is going to end QT or not. That is going to be the ultimate decider for altcoin season. For the people that watch my channel, we are altcoin investors. QT coming down, inflation going down, core PCE going down, CPI going down. These are all very good indicators for more rate cuts and a possible end to QT. Now, we also have had Michael Saylor purchase another $1.4 billion worth of BTC. This guy will never stop buying the top. It will continue to buy. up until the point. I don't think he has any funding left because I think he had a certain amount of funding through selling his stock, and I think that money has more or less dried up. So this, I don't think you're going to see a buy for Michael Saylor for a while now. On other news, GameStop is rumored to buy 6.5%. 6.5 billion worth of BTC. But I do think the one news that I would say is a bit unpredictable, or is kind of 50-50, is the Trump and China talks, because Trump is coming out and saying that we're having good conversations with China, and then China is coming back and saying we haven't spoke to Trump at all. So I don't know why he's lying for. And this kind of correlates with the news that's come out, because if they're having good talks, why would Chinese company Temu charge 150% to counter US tariffs? So clearly the talks are not happening. According to, I would rather believe China over Trump, because Trump's battle is with the 10-year bonds. His goal is to refinance the debt, and he wants the 10-year to be as cheap as possible, as low as possible. And I think one of the main reasons why he folded and cancelled all those tariffs was very simple, because everything was going according to his plan. And then all the uncertainty caused a lot of countries to actually sell their bonds. Now, a lot of people was actually, saying that, including myself at one point before the data come out, that China was selling their bonds. But the reality is China has actually been buying more 10-year bonds, and including Japan as well. And the reason is because if this continues to go up, maybe to the 4.8, maybe to the 5%, I think the Fed will have no choice but to step in, because you get a bond market crisis. And if everyone's selling the bonds, the Fed will have to start buying the bonds back. And that is another form of QE that will stimulate the economy, which is kind of what we want. But this will obviously cause a massive crash in the economy as well. So you have to be very careful what you ask for. In order to get QE faster than what that you would normally take, there will have to be some sort of massive crash. And the bond markets, it looked like it was going towards that direction. However, it has stabilized now. The 10-year and the 3 months has actually gone back in the negative now. So it's inverted again. And normally when this starts uninverting is when you start to get a little bit scared in the economy that we are going to get a recession at some point between 6 to 1 year down the line. But this has uninverted again. The 10-year and the 2-year is looking pretty decent. It's not looking, normally when you get an acceleration, maybe 1 candle, 2 candle, that is basically a good indicator that the market is going to have some sort of black swan coming up. Same thing happened to COVID. The same thing happened in the 2008, 2007 crisis as well. But overall, I would say we are looking more bullish than bearish. Bitcoin could potentially come down one more time, because it did get rejected at the 0.382 fib. We could visit the 0.5, maybe at 91k. But I do think the most likely scenario is we could possibly come down to the 88 region one more time and then go higher. I think all the bears that was calling for the 60Ks, the 50Ks, the low 70K, 70K, 60K region, I think a lot of those guys will eventually panic and be forced to buy back in. I don't think they are going to get another opportunity to buy back here unless some sort of black swan event happens, which at the moment is looking unlikely. The tariff news has been absorbed by the market now. Whether Trump or China does whatever, I don't think the market is going to react as much as they would have a few months ago or a month ago. So it is looking more positive than negative. And at the moment, dominance is basically at the all-time highs. So if you are holding low cap altcoins or specific altcoins, you have to be patient, because when dominance is this high, you're not going to get a nice rally across altcoins. It's Bitcoin season at the moment. It's very clear when we had a pump in November, December, most altcoins were pumping because dominance came down, a decent amount. When dominance is all-time highs, you have to be patient. Your altcoins will not pump until people start to get greedy again, and they will go into the low caps because they want to make more money. At the moment, it's like 50-50. There's one camp that's optimistic, they're buying BTC, and there's another camp that's still worried and only trading BTC. To the buy here, they'll sell up here because of the uncertainty of the tariffs. But ultimately, it is going to be a volatile week. So you have to be very careful. You have to look out for the Wednesday news and the Friday news, because if Friday comes in a bit bearish, it's very likely that exchanges will do manipulation over the weekend, whether they bring it back down, But overall, it's not looking too bad. We'll most likely chop till the GDP numbers come out and the core PCE numbers come out. And, I would either, if you have a lot of stables, I would maybe consider entering some now, because there's a likely chance that Bitcoin could just potentially go up from here. I don't really want it to fly up from here, because what that will cause is it'll cause a blow off top. Bitcoin might pump for like another month or two, and then we'll probably go into a bear market. I'd rather have a normal right translated cycle where BTC pumps, chops here for a bit, and then moves back up into the later half of the year, and then you get a normal right translated cycle. I don't want to have an early blow off top, because it is very likely that your altcoin, unless QT ends, will not be pumping as much as you want it. But on that news, appreciate all of you guys for coming down. Drop a like, hit the subscribe button. I will be dropping regular videos from now on. I will still be doing live streams. However, I would prefer to do more videos, as it takes a short period of time, quick update on the market, just to help you guys out. Thank you for watching. Drop a like. I'll see you guys in the next one.